Alright, so this is going to be a fairly long review because it's going to be like a quadruple review for the last four episodes of season two. So if you didn't know, you can go online right now because the last two episodes of the season finale, were put up early online, so you can watch them, now, and just watch them when they come on anyway because they're that good. But this is I guess, a quadruple review of the last four episodes of season two. So I'm gonna have to read them off. But they're episodes 11, 12, 13, and 14. Night of a Thousand Stars, Harmonic Convergence, Darkness Falls, and Light in the Dark. Um, when I got home to watch these, I had no idea there was going to be an hour long, thing today anyway, because I don't ever check. So it was first off, it was great to have that. I was like, okay, whenever they do that, it's always just really good episodes. And I was watching, I was like, just like when they had beginnings part one and two, it was just a really great combination of episodes. And these weren't, together like or like beginnings part one and two, where it was, Juan's story. They were like just two separate episodes that just got put together. Like in the, beginning of the season, they just put two episodes together at one time as a special. So, it was great to get that in the beginning, and then the episodes themselves were actually great episodes. And the first one I really loved because it finally gave us just a lot for Bolin. I feel like this entire season, Bolin, as Bolin, he is the comedy, but I feel like he was strictly comedy and he didn't have a lot of development. And I feel like he started to get development once Barrett kind of took him under his wing, and then it was kind of like, well, he's just the comedy again because whenever he was involved, it was generally him doing the movies or the TV show, and then Mako was like the main focus, and he'd be like, "Hey, Bolin, this or that," and Bolin would just be like, "Funny line," and that was it. But in this episode, Bolin is dealing with all the fame and stuff, and dealing with the fact that with Mako in jail, it's just like him and Asami, and Korra's off somewhere he doesn't know, of course, and Mako's in jail, so he has like no one around with all this fame and fortune, and so he's not happy. Dealing with some of the stuff that would generally make a ton of people happy. Like he was happy at first, and then in this episode, he's called like an idiot by Varric. He's like, Varric's talking about how a bunch of people said you can't make like a mindless earthbender a star or something, and like Bolan's smiling, then he just stops. And he's like, like I was called an idiot all the time. And so he's watching this show, and he's just like, he's so upset with it that he just walks out because it's just not that good. And then he has this moment where he actually does save the president, and of course it was still hilarious to see because it was following exactly what was happening in the show. But it was an amazing moment from him, and also it was some really great bending. Like all four of these episodes had some amazing action in them because they last four episodes, but they just did some really great stuff. And this one was Bolin based. He was doing some amazing earthbending. He was like beating up the people, and it was really cool to see how he like took the guys out, and he bust through the door, and he did sort of like the sonic wave and knocked the guys down, and then he goes off because they're in the pro bending arena, so he gets to fight them in the arena, and it was really funny. I love like how he jumps down and then like the suit rips, so he like takes it off, and it's just like him in like a vest. But he fights the guys, and my favorite thing was definitely the ending when he like bends, like it had to be like 20 different discs. I thought that looked really cool. It was like, for one, I never knew that they had that many under there. But he just shoots a ton up, and he's blocking the water from three water benders, and he's knocking them all down. And then they have the announcer guy who, in this these, I think it was the first three, wasn't the last episode, but the first three out of the four, he was in each one with like his little lines or whatever. And it made me think, like, is he the only person who's on the radio, like, period? Because I feel like he is, because he's the only one you ever hear outside of when Amon like took over the radio. But it was so funny, like he's at the like, I guess the premiere for the movie, so he's talking to Bolin, and then when Bolin's fighting the people, he's announcing it and stuff, and then he's the only person on the radio announcing things with the vines, when Vatu and stuff are like just going crazy across the city. And it was really funny to me, like it just randomly clicked in my head, like, is he the only person on radio? But I loved his little scene, and he's like freaking out, like he's bending 12 discs, but that's normally illegal. But he's also fighting three waterbenders, and it was like, why is he announcing in this serious moment? But I love that because it was just great comedy, and I like that guy because he's just a funny random character. It was an amazing first scene or first part, and also Varric is discovered in that scene when Bolin beats the guys, and the waterbender says, Varric hired us to kidnap the president so that he could continue this war. So Varric gets arrested. Chun Li is arrested with him, or Jun Li, and it's very simple. It was like he got arrested, and then it's kind of like he's not that bad of a guy. Once he gets arrested, it's just back to him being the funny character because he was caught, and then he was in jail, and of course he's in like the super fancy prison cell with Jun Li, and she's like making tea and stuff. But it kind of made him seem like they'll bring him back next season, and everything will kind of just be washed clean. Like he'll be a good guy again because he did this so that he could make a ton of money and stuff, and it wasn't anything else. It wasn't like he was trying to take over or kill somebody or do this or do that. He just wanted money. So it'll be interesting to see if he does come back next season and he's just another funny good guy again, because once they caught him, I was like, he's not that bad anymore. He didn't have anything too diabolical. I mean, it was war, but in the show, the span of the show, there have been things that have done there a lot worse than him trying to start a bigger war than what was already happening. But Varric was busted, then he got busted out, and they didn't really go anywhere with that either. He kind of, the vines broke through the prison, and they jumped out and had like a wingsuit, and then they didn't show anything. So I think he'll come back next season, but I think he'll stay in Republic City as a good guy. So hopefully he won't just be a villain again next season or anything like that. But loved having him in there just because he's a funny character. I feel like every time they show him, his suit is always the same. As he wears they're called zoot suits, and of course he had the one with the fur. For some reason, I was just like, I always like what he's wearing. It just seems nice. But anyway, first episode was great. Then we had the second episode, which mostly takes place in the Southern Water Tribe, which was really great. And we got a scene that reminded me of the original Avatar, which is just the first scene that really called back to the original. And that was the fight between Tarlok and Unalaq. And it made me think of, Zuko versus Azula. It wasn't as amazing, of course, because that was, built up over an entire series where, Zuko's the hated son and Azula's the favorite second child and stuff. Born lucky, lucky to be born, that type of thing. So that was just absolutely perfect. Like, that's my favorite part of that whole series. But I feel like this was, it just really harkened back to that style. And instead of it being fire, it was, waterbending. And it was great waterbending, too. They're both doing some really great moves. Tarlok, I love how he was dodging the stuff. And whenever something got a little too close and he couldn't dodge it, he would just, punch through it, or he, charge through it, or he'd, need something. It was like he was judo chopping ice and stuff so he could get to Unalaq. But, he does get beaten, but I love that fight. I thought it was really well done. Eska and Desna did some really cool action. When they're first shown in, the second episode, they do a lot of action, but there's, no dialogue, which I thought was kind of weird. But obviously they do talk a lot more in the third and fourth episode. But they had some great waterbending in this too, because every time they fight together it's really cool, because they do the same move, but it's like a mirror image, so it's always the cross type, X waterbending type move. So it was cool to see that too. But they were fighting off against the rebels. Korra's dad is leading them. Tarlok, he's leading them to take back their city and stuff. And it was just a really great episode where they're fighting to get their city back, and then it's brother versus brother, and it was just really, really good, and just great water bending. Just icicles all over the place, but it was a great scene to watch. So love that too. Then all the stuff with the spirit world was, of course, huge. They had to find out where Janora's spirit was, how to basically rescue her, which her role in this I thought was really, really well done. It seemed like they'd find her and then rescue her and that would be it, but she actually really came into play in the very end of the episode, or the very end of the season, which I really loved just how they did it, where she ended up being the light that helped Korra find the good inside of Batu. And I can't remember the actual good spirit's name, but basically, take the good spirit out, and it was just really well done, which I didn't expect, but I really really loved that. And all the action was really well done. Episode 3 was pretty much just the fighting episode: fire bending, earth bending, water bending, air bending. One of my favorite things, which came in the third episode, which was Darkness Falls, when Korra has the spirit taken out of her. I thought she wasn't gonna be the Avatar anymore. Like, I figured they'd fix it in the end, but I didn't think she'd have all of the powers. And then I thought about it, like, it didn't really affect it, because if you watch the beginnings, part 1 and 2, Juan was technically able to control all of the spirits, but it was just not as grand as when he was in the Avatar state. So, thinking about it, was like, oh, she'd still have the powers if they're in her body. It wasn't like, she had to go to all the giant sea turtles or lion turtles and stuff like that. But very well done. Loved the third episode. Just action left and right. Bolin basically tricking. Well, he wasn't tricking. I always get the twins mixed up. I want to say Desna's the girl, but he and Mako were frozen, and he just bursts into tears because he wants to like fall in love with Desna and stuff. And then she lets them go, and Mako thinks he's acting, and then he's like, "Yeah, I was acting," and like he's got tears and stuff. But love that scene. Um, I loved Eska and Desna, just their conversation going back and forth, dealing with um, like falling behind their father and then not following their father, just back and forth. And then in the end, when Korra basically wins and she says, "I couldn't save your father," they're just like, meh. Like, in the end, he was a deplorable person, and they're just like, yeah, too bad. He's gone. No big deal. But overall, it was an amazing 4 episodes. I don't want to take up too much more of your time, but loved every single episode. We got Iroh, which was amazing. Also, one of my favorite callbacks, I guess the last two, since I kind of have to mention them. One was the spirit, sort of like the spirit track with Korra seeing her own body. That was an amazing callback to see, and also her just using that to become the giant, spirit version of her is really really great. And we also got Commander Zhao from the original Avatar. That was just an amazing callback, and he even says like, it's you, the last Airbender and stuff. So just obvious callbacks, but it was great to see him because I didn't expect that at all. But great to see those characters. Iroh wasn't in it as much as I thought because I figured he'd help, Tenzin, Kai and Bumi to actually find Jinora, but he just kind of gave them advice and then just vanishes. But it was great to see them. Bumi was great in this too. We actually got, I think, Bumi. I was gonna say the Earthbenders, but he's not an Earthbender. He's just named after one. But Bumi and Bolin both had some great moments, and Bumi mostly in the second episode, I want to say, when he's basically the last survivor, because everyone gets captured, and he ends up working with the spirit and the animals, Pabu, and I can't remember I can't even remember the actual name of that animal, but it's like a bear and a wolf or whatever. But he works with them, destroys the entire camp as just in a Bumi fashion, and saves everybody. So I love that. And he just got a ton of lines, which I really enjoyed because we didn't get much out of him. Kaya still didn't get too much. He got, a lot. Considering it was 4 episodes, it was a lot to me. So if it was spread out for you, it might not have been as much. But in these last couple episodes, she was in it a lot more than normal. And I enjoyed that too. And they did a lot of her basically doing like, spirit bending or, water bending and using it as spirit water and stuff to heal everybody. So that was cool to see. Also a funny moment when they were in the spirit world, she was like basically like chanting and stuff to focus and try to find Janora's spirit, and she was like, I sense a lot of spirit energy in that direction. And Bumi's like, we're in the spirit world, it's in every direction. So I love that. Also a random thing, Bumi with the pink earmuffs is just funny all the time, so it's hard to focus when there's like a dramatic scene and then I just see him in the background with like pink earmuffs on because he's cold. But it was all amazing. Love the ending. Batu like storming over the city like Attack on Titan or something, or like a giant Ares out of God of War. Love that too. Ending fight was amazing. It just all had the essence. Like, it was a much better season finale than last season, which I did love. I thought that was an amazing ending to that season. Loved him on as a character. Loved how it ended, like him and his brother in the boat. I thought was an amazing scene. But this was just like that was amazing. But this I'd have to say is like epic if I had to do it like that. But love the whole thing. I cannot wait for season 3 and some of the stuff that they kind of hinted at but didn't really get to in these last 4 episodes. One of the biggest things, and I know I was supposed to end it, but oh well. One of the biggest things, which I think everyone kind of hated because it was just back and forth, back and forth. Maka and Mako and Korra not being together and being together and stuff. They are broken up again. Asami wants to be with Mako, I guess. I don't know. But she wants to be with him. He may or may not want to be with her. I think it's just like if someone touches his chest, he'll be like, sure. So we'll have to see what happens next season because I feel like that's their one thing. They either have to have him stick with someone or he just doesn't be with it. He's just not with anyone. And they can't like tease that he's with someone and then they stop again. I feel like next season he either has to just be with Asami or just not be with anybody, period. Because I feel like that's the best thing they could possibly do. Because, last season people kind of hated how he was with Asami and then they didn't really explain it because they were kind of rushed in the episodes in that season. And so it was kind of just like with Asami, likes Korra, dumps Asami, gets with Korra. And then this season, they had the 6 months. They're in love, Mako and Korra. Asami's fine on her own. She was okay with not being with Mako. And then Mako and Korra break up. Next episode, he helps Asami and she like falls for him. And it was so simple. If it ended there, it would have been absolutely fine. He kissed her, he pushed her back, or she kissed him and he pushed her back. And then that would have been it. Then she comes to his house and she's all over him and he's like, sure. And then, once Korra comes back in this episode, because she doesn't have, the memory of them breaking up, and she kisses him, Asami gets like a super mad face, and I thought that was going to mean she was like going to turn evil or something. But she still might next season. I don't know. They just kind of have those characters who are great characters. Like Asami's an amazing character, and she's the only other non-bender outside of Bumi, and like Tenzin's wife, but she's not fighting. And they have her as such an amazing character. She's an entrepreneur. She lost her dad, lost her mom years ago. She has no one but Team Avatar, and then leading the company and stuff. And then they always sneak in where she wants Mako, and it's like just cripples everything else about her because it's like she can't get over this one guy, even though she was, and then he just like is dumb sometimes, and just gets with her. I don't know, but next season I hope they fix that because that's literally the only problem I have with the whole series. But everything else is perfect. I hope they figure that out, and he just either gets with Asami, which I wouldn't want because it would just literally him going back and forth. So I hope he just ends up with no one or gets back with Korra, but I don't think that'll happen. So I have to see what happens there. But aside from that one little thing, I'm excited for next season because we might get Varric back. Who knows what they're gonna have? Who they're gonna have as the enemy. And the biggest thing, the entire Avatar world has changed because, as Korra said, they're in a new, they've entered a new age, which does go back to the episode, A New Spiritual Age, because now the spirits and humans can just, go back and forth between worlds. So that'll change how things, happen because I'm sure they'll be in the spirit world a lot next season, and, they could have, who knows how many characters come back from the old show, or, just who knows what they could really do with that because you don't age, apparently, because General Zhao was in there since the original Avatar, and he still looks the same, so we'll kind of have to see what happens with that, but I'm excited for it for sure. Also, I feel like Tenzin kind of screwed everybody else that was in that fog. Like, I know he was in there for a mission, but it was like tons of people, and he was just like brother, sister, daughter, and then everyone else just got screwed again. But excited for next season. Hopefully we get the Fire Lord because they teased it, and then they kind of blocked that off. We did get Dante Bosco as General Iroh, at least for a couple of lines in this episode, and that's what made me think of the Fire Lord because he's Zuko, so obviously. So next season, I'm hoping we get Zuko. If not Zuko, then at least the Fire Lord, who would be his daughter. But I really hope they bring Zuko in because it's Katara and Zuko are the only two alive from the original Avatar, so they kind of have to give them to us for season three. So excited for that. Comment below, let me know what you thought of the last four episodes, and once again, if you watched this far, which I don't know why you did, and you haven't seen them, definitely check out the season finale because it was just that amazing. So comment below, let me know favorite parts, least favorite parts, and definitely let me know what do you want to see for next season. If you had to make a fanfic right now, what would you want for season three? Comment below, let me know, and thanks for watching.